Welcome back, everyone, to the Everybody Boys podcast. This is your boy Win here with a brand new guest with me this time around that we've met at Minneapolis. We're gonna start from we'll do left to right from my end here. So, the first do you want to y'all want to introduce yourself?
I can't see the screen, so I don't know who's left and who's right.
You're left. You're right of me.
All right. I am Colton. I am an amateur game developer and also aspiring voice actor, I guess. I met Win at Minneapolis, and I'm excited for this podcast.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And these two fuckers right beside me, you know them all.
Fortnite.
Fortnite Battle Pass.
I have redeemed the $19 Fortnite gift card.
God.
What? I'm just kidding. It's already been used.
It's already been used already because you bought the V-Bucks, didn't you little bitch?
Well, yeah, of course. It's cheaper to buy V-Bucks on the card than it is to buy it in game.
Yeah, that's right.
It's $22.99 in game, $19.99 in real life. Why would I buy it in game?
Because Epic wants their goddamn money. That's why.
Well, yeah, it's convenient to get it in game. I get that, but that's besides the point.
And then, of course, we have our good buddy Otaku as well, who was also in Minneapolis with me as well this year.
Yeah, hello, and I apologize in advance that I'm sick and my voice is nasally. Yeah.
That is very much understandable. I ended up getting sick right around Twin Cities Con, so that was not fun.
Sorry to hear.
So for
Sorry, I just need to put this in here.
Understandable. Speaking of which, considering the fact that Colton, you're one of our new guests here, I would like to honestly ask you a few other questions besides, how do you felt about Minneapolis, all the other fun stuff. Like, did you at least enjoy it though, compared to?
Oh yeah, I enjoy the convention every year. I just wish it wasn't shrinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things that I have seen.
Actually,
as well,
want to check in a second.
Is the con getting smaller and smaller each year? I mean, 2020. I know 2023 was actually a lot bigger than 2024. It was a lot bigger.
Don't look at nerd stuff.
A lot bigger. And I don't know why it's getting smaller and smaller. Probably because of money. Probably. Because no one wants to go to this con. I'm gonna be real about that.
If only that wasn't the case.
If only that wasn't the case.
Okay, real quick, I just need to say this because it's kind of a hot topic right now. Hot topic in the sense of, it's just kind of new.
Mm-hmm.
Well, which one have you seen? The second or the first thing?
Both.
Both? So you already know what I want to talk about. But for the other two, that probably don't. So you heard about the news with Multiverse coming out yesterday, right?
The multiverse?
Multiverses. Multiverses. It's the Warner Brothers fighting game that was an open beta a year and a half ago and closed for a year and then just came back.
Did not hear about that.
Well, it's really fun. It's free to play, so I would recommend trying it if you're interested. But the part I'm getting at here is someone has dug through the files and found that we're going to be getting some characters in the game soon. And the confirmation as to how these characters are being put in the game is by Rick Sanchez voice lines. Some of them being for the Pickle Rick skin.
Good lord.
Good lord.
One is Marcy from Adventure Time. Or Marceline, or however her name's pronounced. Anyways, her. Second one's the Powerpuff Girls, which also had special lines while he was in Pickle Rick form.
Wait, all four of them? Are all four of them, or just specific? Like, if you were wearing like a specific, like.
They just said Powerpuff Girls, so they might just be all combined as one playable character. Kind of like how Tom and Jerry are the same character, but you basically control both of them.
Okay, all right
Um,
I'm
Aquaman.
wondering. Sorry, I'm wondering if it's even if this is gonna get the video taken down by publicly talking about unreleased date stuff,
Oh
unannounced stuff.
no! Oh no! I'm talking about things that are online through social media. Woo! If it's taken
Yeah.
down, they can go get all of them on social media. Oh wait, they can't, so it doesn't matter.
Well, we're not.
Oh, okay. I was
we're
just
not using
making sure.
We're not using
Sorry.
copyrighted music, so I mean.
Plus, we're talking about it. It's not copyrighted audio. If they can copyright my voice, I'm going to sue them.
I remember that, like, for Pokemon Scarlet, there was this new Pokemon, and they copyright struck videos because of that. New Pokemon hasn't been released yet, so.
To be fair, I will say
I'm
be
also
fair when
not
it comes to
posting the images in the podcast
that too.
Yeah. It's not a copyright strike until we start posting images or voice lines.
or video.
Oh, okay.
Or music.
My
Yeah,
bad.
as long as we don't use audio, we're fine. If
And,
the only
about
audio
the
we have
whole-
is our voices, we're good.
About the whole copywriting your voice thing, don't give them more ideas.
Oh, they already have done that probably. So don't worry. I didn't give them a new idea. They just got fuel to the fire, basically.
You know, literally have not played Multiverses in a while, so I have not played it in a while.
I mean, it just came out yesterday, so like.
Well, I played the beta, so.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying it just came back yesterday, though.
Yeah.
So of course, you said you haven't played in a while. It makes sense. You haven't played it when it came back. You didn't play it today. Well, I don't even have it installed.
I don't even have it installed. I have Helldivers installed, but.
But yeah, again, so the Powerpuff Girls, Marceline, Aquaman, and then from that one that was sent that had like an audio, like another clip of referencing another show.
Ruby.
Because it just fit. It doesn't have a specific character, but it's referencing a Ruby character. Which, if you're somehow not in the know, Ruby is a Rooster Chicken show, and Rooster Teeth, my bad. Ruby's a Rooster Teeth show, and like not that long ago, Rooster Teeth went and had to file for bankruptcy because of Warner Brothers. So this is the biggest salt to the wound moment we're getting for their content.
Yes.
Yeah, if you search for anything involving Rooster Teeth, their stuff is down.
So the website is down. Their YouTube is still up. The fan base has made a archive for Rooster Teeth. And case in point, Rooster Teeth is a shit company, and I will not.
I mean, I've heard it's had good and bad. It's just more of, at least with a buddy of ours, a buddy of me and Wynn's, whose nickname is actually one of the characters from the show. They are from a different show, not Ruby, different show. They actually don't want to play. They don't want to play Multiverses, not because of the fighting game, though they're not a huge fan of them, which is fair, but because in order to play it, you have to make a Warner Brothers account, and they do not want to support Warner Brothers. They already had a lot of issues with Warner Brothers to begin with. This is just kind of added fuel to the fire as to why they won't do it.
Plus, it's Warner Brothers. Like, what would you expect from Warner Brothers? I mean,
let's not talk about Warner Brothers politics.
You know,
because the second we start talking about Warner Brothers politics, you're gonna hear me talk about something that will probably 1,000% get us absolutely murdered by certain companies.
Probably, yeah. I don't know. That's the best point. Well, speaking of which, Colton, I know you've talked a lot about like tabletop games and a lot of like, and you're making your own tabletop game. Is that correct?
Yes, I am creating my own tabletop RPG system.
Now here's a really fun question. Out of all like the tabletop books that you have purchased or have read in the past, your favorite?
Oh, that's a hard one. I have a top 3, and they each have a number 1 spot for different reasons. So 3.5, Pathfinder First Edition, and Traveler.
Ooh.
Either Traveler First Edition, probably.
Traveler's fun.
Traveler is a lot of fun. To anyone who has never played Traveler, I highly suggest looking at just the character creator. It's a game in of itself, and you can die during character creation, which is a lot of fun. I have never had anyone complain about
die in
creating
character creation in the
Yes, you can die in character creation.
I've never heard of that in my life. I've never played Travel, but I have played Pathfinder, and I played mostly Pathfinder and 5e. But I've never heard in my life you can die in Traveler in the character creation.
Yep.
Kart, I know what we're gonna be doing for the next couple months.
I'll run it for you guys too if you guys want me to run a little Traveler campaign.
That would be fantastic. I would love that. That would be fucking beautiful.
I like 3.5 because so the reason I like 3.5 in Pathfinder is I like crunchy systems. I like it where I can get a lot of different like buffs and debuffs and stuff like that. I like 5e. 5e is very new person friendly, and that is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. It's helped introduce a lot of people in. But I really implore people, expand those horizons, go to other systems, try out 3.5, try out Traveler, try out Pathfinder, try out I just bought Werewolf the Apocalypse and Vampire the Masquerade. Try out those.
We gotta play Vampire the Masquerade because I fucking love Vampire the Masquerade. I've only played it once, but I would love to play it again at some point.
I played it once when I was like in middle school, so I have no remembrance of it. So for its modern counterpart, so it's going to be a bit before I'm ready to run that, but I absolutely will.
You're gonna love the modern counterpart because they changed it from, I think it was, I think they changed the name of it from World of Darkness to Chronicles of Darkness. So a lot of the stuff that was in the old had been completely redone for the new expansions.
Nice.
So a lot of like the new expansions have been completely changed. So if you're I think you might like it. You're absolutely like it. I recently just got the Konosuba and the Goblin Slayer TTRPGs. I got the Goblin Slayer one a couple years ago, and I just got the Konosuba one not even a month ago.
Heck yeah.
It's on my it's on my backlist right now, but I'm reading through it right now currently.
Like, to tell people, just again, try new RPG systems. You never know what you're gonna find, never know what you're gonna love. I have Delta Green too, which is a very like niche, unknown RPG system as well, which is also super fun. I got Overlight, I got Fiasco, which is kind of a RPG light. It's less about like mechanics, more about roleplay, which is kind of fun. But for real, like, people out there playing just 5e and being like, 5e is the best game ever. It is a great game, I'll give it that. But it is not the best, because everything is the best for its own reason.
That I will testify. Kart, I may have found another buddy. I may have found another buddy for you to explore D&D with.
Alright. I mean, my thing is, like, for D&D, since we're on that topic, my system that I'm super used to is, of course, 5th edition. But it's because of the fact that the other system that I got thrown into, especially with someone that, despite them playing a bit, is still kind of, I will say every now and then they kind of forget about something with their aspect of characters. We threw new players with this campaign, plus that player, and myself, and like one other player that actually has played this before, into Pathfinder 2nd edition. So they're both fun. Both editions are fun. But definitely, like, if we were to make something D&D related, and we're going to have newer people, maybe we should try to ease them into the simpler system, in air quotes, before we throw them into the ones that are a lot more fun, but a lot more complex.
I get that.
Because going from having a movement, an action, a bonus action, and a reaction, instead turning into, you get 3 actions and some kinds of reactions depending on your class, throws some people off.
which is perfectly fine. Like, not everyone's gonna be a master of a new RPG system just because they've played one other RPG system.
Yeah. Plus,
I
the
am
other
still
part
trying to figure
too.
out. Sorry, go
Other
ahead.
part too. The other part too is like for me, I like D&D because it's relative. It is kind of relatively simple, and it works with not having to just be a straightforward RPG system in the context of just combat. Because Pathfinder Second Edition, while it has some things that don't relate to combat, it feels a lot more useful for combat scenarios. And for the campaigns I'm in, it's usually half and half. So you don't really want a system that's more combat oriented by the feel of it to be, story driven or like heavily RP driven. I mean, that's the better way to put it. But like, there's a new campaign I'll be starting in like a couple months, and I'm finally breaking my eggshell of my classic character types. Kinda. For context, the last couple campaigns I've ever been in, I've been playing fighters, or I've been playing barbarians. And the first ever character I made for D&D also had a similar concept, not in class, but in how I played them combat-wise, and that was Wilson.
Oh, Wilson.
A-
Wilson.
A half-orc paladin that when I joined Wynn's campaign, I had a magic item that at the time I didn't know how it worked. Some of us didn't know how it worked or didn't realize that I had it. Carry over, and once I got more and more into D&D and figured out how stuff worked, I realized, oh shoot, that's not actually something I should have had, but I had it anyways on my character. An amulet of health. That is what he had.
Good old
Nice.
Wilson.
Which for a paladin, that is a very crucial stat to have really high with.
Yeah.
I have since then revamped Wilson to be a lot more interesting, but I don't think most DMs would ever want me to use him due to him starting with a magic item. But I have a way to kind of balance it out to make it be fair, but again, not a lot of people want to deal with it. And my whole system is that either A, I'm not going to have it until a point that is deemed fair, or B, it's only going to be it's only going to be active in the sense of when something kind of feels dangerous, just somehow magically happens, but if he is underconfident kind of idea. Otherwise, he's a paladin with 22 8 hit points.
Yeah, 22 hit points. Hey.
16 AC, sure, but he's got 22 hit points without that medallion on. High charisma, high strength, good dex.
Meanwhile,
good
my
wisdom.
cleric just exists. My cleric just exists.
Well, I mean, again, this Wilson that I have, though, this is a completely different one than what you're used to, because I actually revamped him very heavily.
Oh.
And this is just, I know you're gonna lose your mind, but I did a manual / roll system for Wilson, and I got really good rolls. I got an 18 on one of my rolls for Wilson, so he's got a 20 in strength already.
Oh my god.
So that,
He's got
I actually have something to bring up on that for a question for everyone. As a DM, personally, I don't like people rolling for stats. I like point buy. How do you guys feel about point buy versus rolling?
Now,
Dependent on DMs, I guess.
I think it's all dependent on the DM, I would say, whether or not what they would choose. Now, I know for a fact that in the Goblin Slayer and the Konosuba TRPGs, the Goblin Slayer one is all point adjustments. So you have a certain amount of points that you have for a character, and then you pretty much it's like Fallout, how you could increase or decrease stats, and you'll get more points depending on the type of character that you want to build. Konosuba's bit weird, so there's a few races that does require specific dice in order for you to roll. I know for like native inhabitants, which is like kind of like the whole like, oh, you're kind of like an average like native of the land that these characters are isekai to, so they need to like roll like a D100 or D67 from what I've read. But for D&D, 5e I go strict roll. For Pathfinder, I'm a little bit more / homebrew. I'm a little bit more liberate with what I have. Sometimes I can allow people to change up their stats a little bit or increase some stats every once in a while, but it depends. Now, if it's like brand new players, then it would be rolling. But if it's like, oh, they're experienced, oh, they know what they're doing, oh, they knew the DM well, then yeah, sure, absolutely.
Here's my way with it as well. If as someone that doesn't DM that often, but there's when I have a professional DM that I know, and there's another friend that is on and off about it, and has a very interesting way to make it work. For the roll system, how my friend has it, not the professional, that's other friend. He has it so if you want to roll, you get 3 times, like 3 groups that you get to roll, and if any of them are good, you can take one if you like them, and if none of them work, you can just go to point buy. But that's it. He won't let you re-roll any dice, unless there's like a 3, and even then he might be interested in it if you can make it work. So like a 3 and a paladin, absolutely not. But a 3 and a barbarian, yeah, it'll be really interesting. Especially since that is the usual dump stat for a lot of barbarian characters that people make. But again, he at least has a whole backup system of if you don't like what you rolled, you can just go to point buy and make something that's fair and simple. The professional DM does not like rolls though, because of that potential, you have that potential to get, as like with Wilson, a 20 at level 3. But in that situation, it's because I have a +2 for my race as well.
I'm a big proponent of point buy personally.
That's fair.
But I would also want to hear Otaku's views on point buy versus.
I'm sorry, but I don't know what any of this is.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't play.
He's not a D&D. He's not huge on D&D.
Gotcha. Okay, never mind then. So, the reason I prefer point buy over rolling
Balancing.
Balancing, absolutely. You're not going to have one player who gets lucky with 4 18s and another player who gets extremely lucky with 4 3s.
All right. I would say in that situation, I think it's fair to intervene and be like, "Hey, that seems a little sus. Reroll."
I get that, but like
I get 118, but 4? Nah. You're doing something to make these roll 6s only. Reroll that sucker.
Yeah, like I do understand why people like rolling because it can mean they can get a much bigger stat bonus, but I think point buy is absolutely the way to go.
Point buy makes it balanced, but rolling is a lot more interesting because you can have a character. I think I might have done this once more through manual editing because it was a character I'm not going to use. But I think I made a character that had a high 1 stat and a low another stat to balance out having one super good stat over another.
So
the character won't see the light of day though. So
one of the things one of my buddies did, we call him Bellinor. I'm not going to give his actual name, but because
that's his character's name.
That's one of his character's names. But when he DMs, he has a custom point buy chart for 5th Ed where it allows you to go in deeper to the negatives and go higher into the positives.
Oh, like a trade-off. Yeah.
And I absolutely love that, and I have it saved on my computer somewhere as well. And it's also something I did in my system as well, to have positive and negative point buys. But I've always been a proponent for point buys, but I think point buys should also allow you to go into the negatives on stats more easily. So you
Yeah.
can use extra points to get. So it's like, yeah, I want a 18 and 2 of these stats, but I'm probably gonna have like a 4 and a 5 in something else.
You're probably gonna have. That's what happened to me last time when I first started playing, because I got absurdly high rolls for my Dragonborn, and like my DM and I were talking about it, and like, yeah, let's just have his charisma to be as low as humanly possible, so it sounds like a hostage negotiation, and then just have my constitution be like at like a 4 or like a 3 at that matter of fact.
I will say that I think you guys might like the character I made for my new DM's campaign. It's actually a really interesting character.
I'm just excited
because
I'm just excited to work on another campaign that I have set up. If anything, I might actually take a little bit of like I might need help actually putting in this new format for my campaign, because there's a story that I've been working on, I think, for the last, year and a half now. It's a remake of a story that I wrote a long time ago, but I was hoping to make, like, a D&D campaign from it, at least, to, have a bunch of my friends come together, we play, like, a board game, and have some fucking fun. So I think I might actually reach out to you and ask, like, hey, let's actually make a format, let's make a system for this campaign.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, Colton, yeah.
Absolutely. I love. I'm really bad with art and I'm really bad with storytelling, but I am a great mechanics person. I can
Hell yeah,
make
dude.
a mechanic for anything if you need it, and I can balance it in a way that feels fair for both players and
the
DM alike.
DMing. Yeah, of course I'm gonna be the one that's DMing. So
I will say I think you would absolutely hate 2 characters I have made as well. Coulter, not or Howard or whatever this is supposed to be. Sorry, so you try to remember nicknames I forgot.
I
And
already
I'm
name dropped my own name at the start of this podcast. I do go
Oh.
by Colton. It's fine. If people want to dox me or fucking stalk me, that's on them.
There's a million people that have the same name.
Yeah. They're also, it doesn't matter.
But I
if
also
they
forgot
do,
what the name was.
They're not gonna find out. They're not gonna find out anything useful about me.
I also have the memory of a goldfish, so I forgot your name.
You're fine.
It's still gotta get blurred out though. Bleeped out, I mean.
I mean, it's fine if it does. If he doesn't have an issue with it. It saves Win editing if he doesn't want to do it. But if Win wants to edit it out, then Win edits it out. Whatever. I just forgot what you said at the start. That's all it was. I couldn't remember. I just looked at your username and just said that.
So what's this character idea that you think I'd hate?
Well, it's not a character idea. They're more of a, you know how monsters have like those special stat sheets?
Yeah.
I had 2 made for a old campaign that unfortunately died out due to reasons I will not explain here, but it died out. And in there were 2 boss characters that I made, and that were used. There were some more that I was working on as well, but never got to use them. And for the... Here it is. Let me see. Do I have the picture still? Probably not. Yeah, I don't. Okay. But there were these... I had these... I forgot what it's called now, all of a sudden. Good job, me. The monster stats. And one was an edited Noblesman stat sheet, and one was a edited Hydra. The Hydra one, I would say, I forgot what I did. But like the Hydra one had some kind of focus fire breath as like either a action or a legendary action, I forgot which. But it was focused on like only 1 or 2 heads could do it. And it wasn't like a wide cone, it was a literal beam of fire. But I can't remember what it was. I don't know if I have a picture of it. Maybe I do while I try to explain these. Maybe I do have these pictures somewhere. D&D characters, no. But there was the other one, the Noblesman, which I barely changed stats for the most part. But there was one key thing I did, and I also DM'd some stuff wrong too as well, which was fun. Again, not experienced DM, but very understandable to make mistakes. But I digress. The Noblesman had a legendary action. Had I think some legendary actions. This being one of them, as well as legendary resistance. One of the legendary actions was, you're gonna hate this because of the party level. These were against level 3 or 4 player characters in 5th edition. Level 4. So it was a huge party though, so there's that. But every player, I think, that was there, I think it totaled up to 8. Yes, I was that ambitious for my first campaign to run. But during that fight, I used as a legendary action a 4th level fireball. My Noblesman, okay, I see that, don't worry. Like, no, this Noblesman had, as a legendary action, the ability to just use a level 4 fireball. Which, a lot of people didn't like, because a lot of them went down from it.
Yeah, let me check Fireball again real fast.
That was 8d6. No, 10d. Is it 8?
9. That became a
9d6.
9d6 Fireball.
Yep. A lot of people went down.
At a level 4 party.
Again, it was a massive party because I was ambitious, but it hit what? 5 or 6 out of the 8 of them.
At level 4, they don't even have Fireball, do they?
I know. Yep. Level 5 is when you get 3rd level spells for full casters. So not a single person had a Fireball. Granted, it was like 8 of them or so fighting one dude. So in my head, it felt fair. But a lot of them, because of something I already did earlier, they felt this was really unfair. I used legendary resistance wrong, and I made it so he could break resistance from a spell at the wrong time. Now, after learning from my errors and stuff like that, I learned that legendary resistance is only once the spell is casted. So if I were to fail my save, I could just use that instead. Or use that instead of save. That's what it is. But what I did instead is I used legendary resistance to shrug off the spell right before someone with a very broken magic weapon was about to hit me. So he felt really cheesed off as well because of that. So
yeah, you got to be careful with that stuff.
I was just a bad DM because I didn't know what I was doing.
That doesn't make you a bad DM. That makes you an unknowledgeable DM. There's no such thing as a bad DM. Just a
I'm saying
unknowledgeable DM.
At that time, I said bad. When I look back at it, I could say that was definitely a lot of errors. That was not the best thing ever.
It was definitely a mistake.
I know I've improved as a person with this, but that sucked back then.
I also have to take back. There is bad DMs. There are.
There's definitely bad DMs. Mine was just inexperienced bad. My inexperience was showing and kind of making me seem like a bad DM because of it. I was able to do other things just fine, but I think it was the fact that, again, I didn't know how to run a boss character with these kind of things at first that well. That is the part that showed my inexperience. And second, from the start, I kind of ruined this from the start. I had such a bad ambition of having players play the game that I ended up having at most 10 at a time.
Bad decision.
Yeah, very bad decision.
I mean, that's still better than my first bosses, because yours was at least threatening. Mine became a pushover real quick. I gave this Minotaur Barbarian Pirate dude layer actions in his workshop because he was like a retired pirate.
Fair enough.
And it was supposed to be this big battle where he could swing his axe, he could cleave through people, and it turned into a literal just pummeling of this poor dude because my players were like, wait, he's just one guy? Yeah, we'll just snare him. I didn't give him legendary actions or resistances, so he just would get snared because
him.
This druid turned into a giant spider and was just like, cool, just gonna wrap him in webbing.
Well, what happened was with my guy as well, which also would have happened, which also would have been a situation if it wasn't for me not using legendary resistance correctly. They just hold person on him. Literally, if I knew how legendary resistance worked then and played by the rules then, they would have killed him. Straight up. Hold person is something he could not break through.
I love creating characters for D&D campaigns because they're fantastic, especially the NPCs. Can you just make the most random NPC and they get just
NPCs are hard for me to make.
Like some of them have like can play like an important role within the campaign, and then like at like some point like you just have like a campaign, you have like an important NPC, and then the NPC becomes like an important character. I like that. That's pretty fun to mess around with. Like they become like a villain of sorts, or they betray the group, or they like, or they end up like doing some harm to the town that you're staying at or whatnot. Then I like that. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to have that type of character. Or inadvertently, one of my favorite characters that I made for another campaign that I was in. I think it was a Waterdeep campaign for 5e, but I ended up making a necromancer. It was a necromancer wizard, I think. And I had made it for a friend of mine who was looking for some villains, and I'm like, all right, I can make a villain for you. I have one in the sketchbook right now currently. I can just show you a picture, and I show him all the stats and everything. It's just like, yeah, he incorporated it really, really well. So, I mean, there's some really fun moments that you can get with a lot of these tabletop games where you can just like, oh, let's see, I'll just make like a random character from scratch, and then boom, comes a villain.
Yeah, it's super easy. I have one of my favorite recurring NPCs that started out as a character I played was a chaotic good necromancer named Kolak Val, who worshipped the Raven Queen, who, everyone knows, hates the undead. His whole shtick is he wanted to raise an army of undead, kill all evil undead, and then put his army to rest in the name of the Raven Queen.
Damn, dude.
Actually, a really interesting character. Yeah.
It was so hilarious because he was also extremely polite. He would knock on every door, like in the dungeon we were in. He would knock on doors politely and then just see who would open the door. A literal demon opened the door and he just introduces himself like, "Hello, my name is Kolak Val. I am here with my adventuring party. We are here delving into your dungeon, trying to stop some madman from doing evil shit." The demon behind the door was just like, what? Because even the DM did not expect me to do that.
That was... I love when that happens, just like unexpected things, just the most random interaction.
So, after he died in that campaign, I started making him a reoccurring powerful wizard in my other campaigns as an NPC, and he's always a hit. He's one of my 2 reoccurring NPCs that is usually pretty well received by players.
I mean, yeah, when you can make a character that it can be reoccurring and it just works, phenomenal.
My other reoccurring character is a magical shopkeep who does not look like anything anyone has ever seen, who sells cursed items in a pocket dimension that you can find anywhere in the world by looking for a little horse with a quail feather sticking out of its head on door frames.
Huh.
That's
actually a really cool way to make
really
you find the NPC.
Yeah, it's a reoccurring thing. I have my players constantly asking, it's like, hey, do I see anything weird on this door frame? We're like, yeah, you see like a horse with a little quail feather, and he's like, quail horse, quail horse, quail horse, immediately, just to get into the shop.
Quail horse, quail horse.
Brilliant. I mean, screw it. Now we're just gonna make this sort of like a RPG, like a tabletop role playing game, podcast
Discussion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't get to say the character that I made for this upcoming campaign I'm be doing though. I thought I was going to talk about that. The last 2 campaigns that this professional DM has done when I play with them. The first one was in Ravnica, which then my initial party kind of fell out, but he didn't want me to feel excluded because I was still playing as long as one other player. So they bumped, not one other player. I think it was just me actually, because the other players eventually fell out. It was just me left. They bumped us into another party that was missing, that wasn't completely full around that time. So I got to still play in that campaign. However, for them, they were not in Ravnica. They were in the Forgotten Realms. We ended up back in Ravnica. I forgot how, but we did. That one was like the oldest of the 3. The more recent one that has recently ended was in a completely new setting. That was actually, my DM was part of the team that made this completely new setting. So, I could link that somewhere in the server later for you to look at if you're interested. It was actually kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
And then for this third campaign, we're doing kind of dimension hopping. So we're going from different universes of D&D campaigns. And so for character creation, the only restrictions that we were given is no blood hunter. Otherwise, everything else is basically fair game. And my character I made, I want to say their name last because that's actually what happened with character creation. But it is a autonome rogue with the scout subclass. And I kind of built him stat-wise, items he has in his inventory-wise, which, as a heads up, one other thing we were given, or we're able to get at the start of the game, is one uncommon magic item, one of those easier to obtain ones, that's utility-based. Utility can also include weapons in this situation. So one of my items I have is a short sword +1. Mainly to go on theme of me having melee-based characters. I like melee combat. But this character has a bow at least, so I can do ranged, unlike the previous 2 that didn't have any range on them. And no, they're built to be, instead of being, you know how rogues are normally stealthy, sneaky, roaming around to be hiding everywhere and doing all the rogue stuff? Yeah?
Yeah.
Since I have the scout subclass, I built him more to literally just be a scout. He's got, for his proficiencies that expertise, I mean, because you get quite a few of them at the start for some reason. 4, to be exact, somehow. Oh no, I get 2 because of scout, and then I get 2 because of rogue. My 2 proficiencies I get from Scout is the Nature and Survival skill checks, which I have a +5 in both of them. I have a +1 in my Wisdom and Intel. And then for the other 2 that I have for my expertise, another one's a +5, that being Investigation. And then the last one is my acrobatics instead of stealth. Because again, while rogues are normally known to be stealthy, he is not. This autognome is not stealthy. Partly because he is an autognome. Like, can't really hide a machine in, like, the forest. Especially one that originates from Spelljammer. But, so he's got acrobatics as his expertise. His whole gimmick is just to be a scout, you know. Venture forth ahead of the party, look around, make sure everything is clear, avoid sticky situations whenever possible, and get the job done. However, the hardest thing I had about making this character was his name. Because prior to this character, I had another machine character. It was a Warforged, though, that was named differently for the campaign. And that character's name was Cass, which was an abbreviation for Cascara, or a kind of sword, and shield. Which, ironically, my DM took away my shield as he gave me a greatsword. Thank you, DM, by the way. It was a great sword. Don't get me wrong. But I really wanted that shield. But, again, his acronym was to basically just be sword and shield. His shield in this situation was just him taking hits instead. So this one being an autognome, I'm like, I want it to be a nickname. An abbreviation. But what is the name, and what does it abbreviate to? And normally I do the other way around. I get the abbreviation first and the name. And then I landed on, with the assistance of my DM, we landed on the abbreviation of Sneak. S-N-E-K. Sneak. You want to hear what it stands for?
Sure.
Short, nimble, exploration, knucklehead.
Jeez.
And I gave my DM this idea, and I'm hoping he will surprise you with this in the future. But I gave my DM this idea because with autognomes, one of the key things in their, in the books, when you look at the whole thing about the race, one of the key things talks about something involving autognome origin or history. One of them is a glitch caused you to forget your original programming. You don't remember who made you or where you came from. I like that idea so much. I'm going, what if he forgot his creator and a bit of what he had in his past, but at least for his name, the only part he would have forgot about was the K, which was his creator's name. So I gave that to my DM. Told him to keep it a surprise for me, because I really want to see what he'll do with it if he does anything. And I'm hyped. And again, it keeps an excuse to keep the name Knucklehead in the name.
That kind of reminds me of the character. So I'm running a Pathfinder campaign, which I'll be running later today, actually.
Nice.
And I have a DMPC to kind of get the players going in a general direction. And eventually that PC is going to be leaving and doing other things once we can get more players and a story kind of going. But it is a, basically gender neutral, because you can't tell whether it's male or female. It's a gender neutral android that is a paladin, that is a Steel Valkyrie paladin, and its name is VA1KYR13, or Valkyrie.
It was VR. Say the name again, because sorry,
VA1KYR13.
VAR1.
No, VA1.
VA1.
KYR.
KYR.
13. Valkyrie.
Valkyrie. Yeah, I see it now.
Valkyrie spelled with numbers. I thought it was really cool.
Dude, naming robot characters are so fun because you could just do things like that.
Yeah.
You either take. I didn't think about that. I could just take a regular name and just use numbers in place for letters.
The hilarious part about this character is that it has a dent currently in its cranium, so its memory's faulty. One of the characters gave it the nickname Valk, and Valkyrie tried to give that character a nickname. That character has the moniker Notorious B.I.G. So
B.I.G.
Just Notorious B.I.G., like the actual rapper. My character thought it would be funny, or I thought it would be funny if my character decided, I shall shorten this. You are not big.
That's actually really good! You are not big.
Hilariously, he is a large size race, so he is the biggest.
Like a Goliath or something?
He's like a four-armed, giant race of some sort.
Ooh, that sounds really cool. That's funny. You are
this
not
tiny
big.
little android who's just you can't really tell if it's male or female. Just looks at him and calls him, "Hello, not big." It also is. I also love doing the joking. My character doesn't understand weird concepts, like humor and stuff like that.
Like kind of like Baymax sometimes, you know.
To a degree, yeah.
Not
So
not 100% like it, but to a degree, exactly. Yeah.
the character Notorious B.I.G. He'll start like explaining these like foreign concepts and ideas to Valkyrie, trying to get Valkyrie to understand.
And Valkyrie just leaves it probably a minute later.
Valkyrie's just like sitting there, just steam starts pouring out one of the sides, just like trying to fathom what he's trying to describe. And it's always hilarious.
Also, you saying that they had a dent in their head, just make the first picture that goes in my head is like the dent in the Iron Giant's head.
Yeah, that's about actually accurate.
Actually, I mean, you don't get inspiration from something like that. It's kind of nice though, because that way you have a kind of visual in your head without having to draw it out, because you can kind of recreate it with just editing a visual you've seen from a movie in your head.
Yeah, and I'm going with the Steel Valkyrie path for Pathfinder, because it has a cool ability where you can turn any armor you're wearing into a pair of wings and gain a flight speed.
Oh, that sounds fire. That's so cool sounding.
I'm excited. I did also notice we have 10 minutes left before we have to end this podcast.
Yeah,
Blaze it!
I was about to say I actually need to be heading off very very soon actually, because I have another thing I have to be to. So I'm gonna have to cut off this podcast a little early, hopefully. Normally we don't usually end our podcast this early. We usually keep going for like another 20-30 minutes or so, but it looks like we've kind of because since I need to be out and I have to get ready for this, but I'm hoping to do probably another podcast probably next week or the week after. This is kind of like a whole miniaturized test and see how the podcast would go. But yeah, this is Win and the other boys. Signing off.